Thank you very much, everyone. Congratulations for your wedding. So I applied to have the right to be the only one to be overtime today, but unfortunately Carlos stole my seat, so I'll have to stick to the 10 minutes. So our company, Luxury Insight, is a business intelligence startup. We specialized in gathering and structuring big data and insight for luxury brands. Now, I've been asked quite a simple question, which is, can luxury address a globalized and connected world? And because I had 10 minutes, of course, Alice, Nicola, and Usama were kind enough to limit that to 1.3 billion people. That is China. So I have approximately 100 million people to tackle every minute. So now we're going to talk a little bit about China, but before that, thank you. Before that, we'll try to answer this question. Can luxury address a globalized and connected world? Now, when we think about this globalized and connected world linked to China, a lot of figures come to mind. As you may know, China is a country of 1.3 billion people. Approximately 600 million people are connected on the internet on a regular basis. It's about to become the #1 e-commerce market in the world. Luxury brands are using this potential a lot because Chinese people get connected to the internet before almost every single purchase. As you can see, 73% of Chinese consumers go to check the internet before making luxury purchase. And official website and news website are the first source of information. Luxury brands also use the internet in China to communicate on specific platforms, specific Chinese platforms. Some of them are here: Youku, Todo, Baidu, etc. A little more here. So if I had 2.5 hours, I will tell you a little more about each of them. But because I don't, all I can tell you is there are many of these kind of platforms. And this slide is interesting because here you have our Western equivalent. As you can see, Facebook, Wikipedia, Foursquare, Help, and then you have the main Chinese competitors for each of them. And as you can see, for each of our main platforms, there are many Chinese platforms that exist. So it's going to take a long time for me to tell you about all of them, and long time for luxury brands to understand what's going on. But don't worry, I won't do it. I won't do it because I don't have the time. I won't do it because you won't be able to remember the names of these platforms. And I won't do it because even if you do remember the name of this platform, by the time you leave this room and you run to your office and you call your China office and you tell them to quickly implement a strategy to go to Weibo and WeChat and blah, 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 the strategy will be implemented and it's going to be too late. Because this system is changing very quickly. This is the evolution only over the past years. Okay? So, why not? We can do it again. All right. So, that's not what I'm going to do. It's not what I'm going to do because all I want to tell you is China is changing extremely quickly. And instead of having a look on the present state of the Chinese luxury market, I'd like to make a statement that is that China is changing extremely quickly, but it's also changing the luxury market itself. So how can we try to answer this question together? First, to answer the question that I've been given, I'm the first French person to talk this morning in the panel, so I'll be very academic and I'll answer the question I've been asked. Can luxury address a globalized and connected world? I prepared the kind of George Clooney answer that we will discuss together. Then we'll have a look at the luxury world's evolution before seeing that if something hasn't changed over the past years, this is the reason why people purchase luxury products here or in China. Then we'll have a look on China, and we'll finish having projection on what we discussed on the future of luxury. The first thing is, of course, luxury can address a globalized world. Actually, luxury and international are consubstantial. if there is one thing that luxury knows how to do, is to do international. They've been excelling for decades, if not centuries, to setting themselves as paragons of success and good taste all around the world, selling to tsars, maharajas, kings, queens. Cartier was referred as king of jewelers and jeweler of kings. Here you have the Maharaja of Patiala with a necklace from Cartier dating back from 1928. Luxury actually, to me, finds its very essence in the ability to address a globalized world. That is, in the ability to find a balance between a global image that needs to be unique, because if you don't have the coherence, you're not a luxury brand, but also to address very specific consumers. And these consumers are diverse, and you need to take this diversity into account because luxury goods don't answer needs. We don't need a 5,000 euro bag. My wife may, but beside her, I don't think we need a 5,000 euro bag. We need water, we need food, we need a roof. This is needs. But we can desire luxury goods. And the difference between needs and desires is that needs are universal. Any country in the world has same needs, but desire are sociocultural, and it's this ability to address desires that helped luxury brands develop and expand internationally. Now, what has changed? Okay? What has changed is very important. The world has changed, and luxury world has changed too. A generation ago, luxury brands were owned by namesake family. Okay? In the 1970s, 1980s, Vuitton was owned by Vuitton family, and they were only selling to rich clients in rich countries. Pretty easy business. You sell to Europe, America, rich people, you know them, your family know them, etc. In a few stores they had all around. Then in the 1980s, there was a first structuration of the market. First, the creation of conglomerates that structure the business, the first of them being LVMH, that set up in 1987 after purchasing Dior in 1984. And the second is the progressive emergence of the Japanese market. Through these two elements, the luxury business prepared to the two first revolutions that Axel Lemaire mentioned before. We didn't prepare our speeches together, but lucky enough, we talked of the three same revolutions. That is that from that scenario, luxury business is progressively expanding its perimeter to democratize. If Dior can sell bags for 1,000 euros, maybe they can sell t-shirts for hundreds. So they began to sell to rich and less rich clients in rich countries. On the other hand, internationalization. Luxury brands began to sell to rich clients in rich, but also not so rich countries, and that is the expansion to China. The round three is the one that we are living in today, was the globalization and internet. So globally, luxury developed at a very, very, very quick pace. Now, the world has changed, but if there is one thing that hasn't changed, it's the reason why people buy luxury. I'll have to be quick, because I know Armin can be dangerous. But I just listed a few elements that are generally linked to luxury. If you have a look at them, okay, what you can see is what you cannot see, because there's a part of the animation that lacks. But in any case, all of these elements looks pretty vague here, okay? They're all linked to the luxury industry. But if we look at it carefully, we can see that these elements can be divided into three families. You have the rational elements, the price, quality. Then you have emotional and subjective elements, like the dream, the brand. And then you have social and relational elements, like status, power. So luxury is an investment, but also a desire and an element of power and status. And this is what matters for China. Now, if we have a look at China very quickly, as I understood it, okay, what we can say is China is 7% on the world luxury market today, okay? If you add Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau, we reach 13% of the market. It's beginning to become interesting. But then, if we add all Chinese, we are reaching the 29% that they discussed before. So the difference between the Chinese market, which is 7%, and Chinese people globally, 30%, is huge. Which means that you have to take into account the fact that Chinese people are in China, but they purchase abroad for many reasons linked to the policy of anti-bribery, etc., and the price difference. But in any case, this links to take into account a big change in the market. That is, you communicate in China, you open stores, but you're not going to make sales there. You're going to lose money. The same way you do haute couture and you lose money. But you do fashion, you make some money. And then you do perfume and you make a lot of money. The same way you open a flagship in Shanghai, you lose money. Then you make some money in second-tier cities in mainland, but the real money, you make it in Paris or Hong Kong. The problem is to link these sales to China and make sure this is Chinese consumers, because you don't have always the link to do the P&L correctly. Now you're all in Paris today, and we're very glad to have you here. But if we talk about the French luxury market, the French luxury market is only made of 40% of local people. 60% of them are tourists. So China is twice bigger than the 27 countries of European Union put together, and twice more populated. Can you imagine the diversity of it? The north has the latitude of Sweden. It's very cold. The south has a latitude of Morocco. It's extremely hot. So if you put the same products, you're not going to sell any of them. If you look at where wealth is located, we are unlucky, not like Brazil, where wealth is located in a few cities. Here, wealth is everywhere. So you have to be everywhere and take into account this immense, this huge geographic diversity. You also have to take into account the very important economy diversity, because China has more than 1 million millionaires, okay? 1 million millionaires, can you imagine that? They are located in more than 100 cities of more than 1 million inhabitants. So if you look at China, you always have to take into account that you can't consider China a market. China is a continent. It's probably a mix of a lot of markets. And later, you will see in a few years that brands will have entire offices in China with people divided depending on markets and submarkets. The same way you have today a country manager for France and another one for Germany. And you will have another guy who will be, or girl, the China master and close to the headquarters. As a conclusion, the importance of China and the market is very central, because China is changing the rules of the game. It's changing the way luxury is interacting with its core elements. The first of them being the markets. Of course, we've been used to talk of luxury markets, and now we can't anymore. If you remember the 7% versus 30%, we have to talk of luxury consumers, okay? Space. Luxury is about space. You all know that. But Chinese travel a lot and they like internet, so we have to be even stronger in the interaction between physical and digital worlds. Time. Luxury is about time. Hermes since 1837, and you can wait 2 or 3 years to get a bag and 2 or 3 seconds for me to finish my speech. But Chinese don't want to wait, so you have to be quick. Consumers. Luxury brands have been used to have consumers listen to them. They have not been used to have consumers talk to them, let alone talk about them. So we have to adapt to this Chinese scenario. This is my last thought. A generation ago, China was absent of the world economy. Coca-Cola and McDonald's were the most powerful brands, and Google didn't exist. But just as Google is born within the digital and big data world, China is reborn with this globalized and connected world. Now that China is everywhere in the luxury, the question is, will China continue to follow our rules and to purchase our brands, or will they create a new form of luxury, more adapted to all these challenges that it helped creating? Thank you so much.